Hey everyone. Before we get started on this episode, I just wanted to make a quick apology video on what had happened in one of our recent episodes. So if you had watched episode 136, we talked about an article and something that itch.io was doing. They were running a campaign to try and get some money together for the events that are happening in Palestine over there, and kind of the events that were occurring recently. And a listener reached out to me and basically said that they were upset with the way that we handled talking about this situation. And I wanted to be deeply apologetic because, you know what, they were right. This is one of those moments where, we don't have all the information, and the way we read it and the way we talked about this article sounded very one-sided. And you know what? You are right. We don't know all of the details. And usually we are much better about being very open-minded to these kind of situations and talking about them in a different light, regardless of what it is. And the intention was never to try and sway people or make them think a certain way about, what is actually happening over there, because the truth is we don't know, and we don't want to be the place for your news as far as what's happening in this. Like, we want to push indie games. We want to push a community that is very open-minded, is very charismatic, is very passionate about video games. And really the idea behind that article and talking about it is that I wanted to say, there are some tough events that are happening, especially for innocent bystanders, that is very challenging, and people are going through harder times. Now, regardless of what side you stand on this matter, there are people who are suffering. And for that, we want to talk about raising money, charity, the good that can come from people who are in the video game industry, and talk about a cool bundle of games that you could have got because of that. But that being said, we plan to do better. We will be much more open-minded to what is happening. I personally need to do more research on this subject, and I deeply impacted a listener, and I know that this jeopardizes them ever listening to us again, and probably they're not going to be a part of the community, which hurts me because, I don't want to ever say something in a light that is painting a picture of a group, of a community, or ever offending someone in that way. I just had the intention of trying to push the idea of a charity that is out there, and if you want to donate, you could. So what we have done is, for the immediate future, we have taken that episode off. It will no longer be played because I don't want to try and push an agenda on anyone, for that matter. And what we will do in the future is we will be better. That is all we can do. That is what we want to strive to do. And we will do our best to be more thoughtful on these situations because they are tough topics. But for those listening who might have been impacted or offended, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'm very sorry, and that I will do better. We will do better. For those who didn't feel anything about it, don't worry. Nothing's going to drastically change when it comes to our show. We have to be more mindful about these topics, but we're still going to talk about, indie games. We're still going to be here to shout out all the cool stuff that's happening. But that's what we wanted to say. So to the listener that we offended, I'm once again very sorry. We will be better. All right, back to the episode. Perfect. You gotta do the turkey test.
Naturally, that's like really the only way to test audio. People do like sync claps, they do like little like vocal exercises. You're like, nah, it's the turkey test.
It's the turkey test. I do filming stuff, like I'm a legit source.
I'm a professional. I'm telling you right now, in the industry, everyone sits in their cubicles. They go into the sound booth. The second they do, they go.
Yeah, it's a nice throat clear, and then they're like, what is it? Yeah, sounds good. I can really hear the bubbles.
You're like, those levels. Yeah, I hear it. It's a little bit up, and then it goes down. Okay, all right.
Very good.
Dude,
Yeah,
okay, so seriously, I need like, I don't know, like fucking thick boys complain corner or some shit to this podcast. Like before we started recording, we were talking about the possibility of like streamlining this podcast. And I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen because I got shit to complain about. All right. Or it's not going to happen anytime soon.
We're going to have to make separate episodes. There's just going to be like,
Vaughn
Josh and
complains about movie
Vaughn
theaters
complain.
for 30 minutes.
I guess so. That's going to be our next Patreon episode.
Yeah. So when's the last time you went to a movie theater? I would assume it's like fairly long ago. Like
It's been a long time. Because I personally, I'm not a moviegoer. Like I was never, even before the pandemic, like I went like once or twice every year. And it usually, I don't know, because I just don't care as much. Like I can usually wait for a movie.
Yeah.
And like honestly, a big thing from like a movie perspective was like right before it was all those Marvel movies and everyone was like losing their shit over it, and I never really cared as much, so I was just like, nah, there's nothing that's like big that I gotta go see, right?
Yeah, I've always just enjoyed the like movie going experience. That was like my favorite part about going to the movies, is just getting that bit of popcorn and kind of hanging out and everything, you know.
The people
like,
screaming at the screen.
Dude, my fucking dad. Like, I'm not even joking. It was so uncomfortable. So like, okay, so like last week, my wife and I went and watched The Forever Purge. It's a good movie. It was fun. We talked about it. And then this weekend, my parents were like, hey, you want to go see Black Widow? And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, let's fucking go. I'm excited. Movie looks interesting. So we get there, and like, this is a lot of things to complain about. But the one I'm going to get out of the way first is that like, it wasn't really disturbing, but at times my dad would say things during the movie. And I was like, let's just not talk. I was like, like, I was just like, I was so afraid that somebody was going to turn to us and be like, can you shut up?
Can you,
like, is
can
that
you
cool?
stop? Like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah, especially because the guy like sitting like 2 seats over or 3 seats over was like super irritable. Like, it was fairly obvious. Like, my dad came and like took the seat that was next to me, and the guy got up and moved because he didn't want to sit next to anybody. Yeah. And I was like, all right, whatever. That guy kind of seems like a bitch. So like, let's shut up a little bit. And like, there were certain points in time where like in the movie, my dad, like, they made a joke about like fitting into your pants, like trying to fit into your pants. And my dad's like, that was me this morning. And I was like, I mean, that was a funny enough joke, but like, can you shut up a bit? And then like, later on, he was like, this song came up that I remember listening to like all the time when I was a kid. And it's like a big moment in this movie. And my dad was singing along with the song. And I was like, shut up, bro. I didn't want to turn to my own father and be like, hey, remember all those times when I was a kid you told me to shut the fuck up in movie theaters? Like, you need to take your own advice. Like, you just shush. Like, just shut your mouth. But it was just, I got to get that out of the way, because it's like this whole movie going experience, there were certain things that pissed me off. And then, like, not even pissed me off, the dad thing, I was just like, somebody's going to yell at us, Dad. This is Idaho. They don't care. Okay?
They're not like, putting up with your shit.
Yeah, you live in Idaho. Everybody's a Karen. Like, fucking everybody. It's ridiculous. So,
oh my goodness.
There's this thing. Have you been to a movie theater that requires you to pick your seat beforehand?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? What's your deal? You like that?
What's my deal?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm fine with it.
Some
like,
people hate
really,
it.
I don't hate it. Like, I enjoy the idea that I know where I'm going to sit, and if there's not a seat that I want, then I just don't go. Like,
yeah, like if you get the shitty seats, you're up in the nosebleeds or whatever. I guess down in the nosebleeds because you're sitting there like this.
Yeah, because you're like
the whole time. Like, why do they even have those seats? Not even joking.
I don't know.
Unnecessary. Like, they're just stupid. But I really like. Some people really hate the fact that they will have reserved seating, but it's like, in my head, it's like, why are you going to a movie theater that has it then? You know what I mean? Like, if you hate it so much and refuse to do it, why are you going to a movie theater that requires you to do this? And this is my problem with it, is that seemingly everybody is like, I know I got my reserved seat, but why even sit in it? Why not just be an asshole and sit in somebody else's seat? And I'm afraid to make mistakes. I'll admit that. Like, I have some real phobias of making mistakes and getting confronted. Like, I really don't like confrontation. But my wife and I were like, all right, whatever. Like, it's cool. We go and sit in our seats. And I was like, all right, this is good seats. We always sit in our exact seat, not trying to be a dickhead or anything. And if somebody's in our seat, we'll be like, oh, man. Like, that's the most uncomfortable thing because like, you don't want to be like, hey, that's my seat. You want to move? And because
so you gotta play that game where you're like, oh, I think you're in my seat. Are you in the?
You do that? No, I sit near it. I'd be like,
you sit near it? Oh,
I
no,
guess. I'll just be like,
I
I guess I'll just take these seats that are like right next to you. Whatever, like it's fine. But then like that would cause the like cascading effect.
Yeah,
it's like the domino effect. When somebody comes in, they're like, you're in my seat, and I'm like, that dickhead is in my seat. So like. We got like a standoff here. Like,
so like you gotta sit somewhere
else. I'll
else.
move out of your seat. You know, like you just go ahead and confront them for me because I'm not gonna do that. That's just
my goodness.
That's not my deal.
That's too much, huh?
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. So like I talk about making me feel uncomfortable. So my wife and I, we sit in our seats. And this family like comes and sits next to us. And I was like, oh, okay, those must be their seats. But they kept looking at us. Like, not joking. They were like this. They're here. Like, they kept looking and pointing. And obviously that's a visual gag. You're going to have to watch the YouTube video for that. But it was so annoying. And like every time they'd look at us and point, I'd look at them. And then just like look back, and my wife kept like looking at me and being like, what are you doing? Like, why do you keep looking over there? It was just making me so uncomfortable. I was like,
oh my goodness.
And in my head, I was so overreacting about it. I was like, wait, did they sell us the same seats? Like, what happened here? Did they actually get these seats and we didn't get these seats? Like, what's happening? And at one point in time, they pulled out their receipt and they looked at it and they were like, oh yeah, which your seats aren't on your receipt, which I found super weird. But they looked at the receipt and I was like, okay, whatever. And then they go for a while and they come back and these kids that were sitting in front of them were seemingly with them, but we were in their seats or something. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
But then we find out when my parents get there. And they got there a little bit later. My parents get there and they were like looking. And I don't know if they were blind or something, but they literally looked right at me. And I was like, hey. And they were all like, where's the Caesar? And then it turns out the reason that they did that is because this family had taken their seats. And here's the thing. They're sitting here making me feel uncomfortable, pointing at me like I stole somebody's seat. I'm all worried about it. And I'm like, nah, you're the dickhead. What do you mean? And I honestly,
oh my goodness.
I was just waiting for them to be like, hey, would you mind moving down a seat? And I'd be like, no, I won't, because this is my seat. Like, if you want to steal somebody's seat, go up there in the nosebleed. Like, go down there in the shitty area where you can have all your seats together because no one wants to sit there, you know?
No.
Like, it's just, I hate it so much. If you show up so late to a movie theater that there are no good seats, that's your fault, bro. Don't steal someone else's seat. You're being a dick. Like, I hate it. I hate it so much. It really bothers me.
That's so funny. Your level of interest when it comes to confrontation of like you won't initiate anything, but if something like that comes up, you're like, no way, I'm taking my stand. It's like you couldn't even talk to that person beforehand.
No, I'm like a cornered animal. Like I won't bring it up to you. Like, you know, like a scared dog, like they're like in a corner and they're kind of rabid a little bit and like they're gonna just attack you because they're scared, you know? But the second that you do something, they'll like bite your throat out. That's basically what I'm like, where I'm just like constantly waiting to flip my top on somebody. Which
Vaughn's
is just
scared puppy hide.
You know? Yeah, like exactly. Like everybody thinking it's gonna be okay, and I'm just like, I'll fucking slap you. I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna slap your shit out of you. Nah, it just really pissed me off. I was like, stop. Just don't. I hate it.
Too much, man.
Yeah.
Well, how was the movie? Was it
I actually
good?
really liked it. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
like I felt like okay. So this is like I said, you know, 1,000 hours ago, I went and saw Black Widow. I actually really liked a lot of the movie. I really liked all the characters. The only thing that I felt like it was paced a little bit weird, and they tried to get like what I would say is like emotional payoff moments. They tried to get them out of the way very quickly, like really quickly.
That's
like
strange.
in the beginning of the movie, they're just like, why not? And there are certain things that I don't understand, like the end of the movie. And this is like, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there's this really weird moment where like seemingly Black Widow gets arrested at the end of the movie, but then like nothing happens. Literally nothing. And I was like, what? That like goes against literally everything that this movie has been about. What do you mean? Like, what are the main through lines? Is that you're running from the police. Like, you're on the run. And then you get arrested and it's like, nah.
Oh well. We tried.
Yeah. But overall, I thought it was really fun. The action sequences actually looked really, really weird, though, because they like used CG, but it was like the Uncanny Valley CG where it was just a little bit off to where I was like, I can see that that's not right. It's making me very uncomfortable.
I hate that.
So yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
All right,
It was a good
all
movie,
right.
though. I liked it. I thought it was a good viewing experience, you know, with the exception of the person like
Fucking pointing
my
pointing, son.
Seriously, dude, I'll throw my popcorn at you. Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we actually don't have any main news stories for you. Yeah.
No
this is just
stories.
a fat goose egg. We don't have any any big news stories, mostly because when I was running through trying to get things for the doc, most things only fit into the category of like new stuff. There weren't things that I thought we could really like have a discussion about. So instead I was like, you know what?
Are you telling
We're just
me
gonna do
that
this.
you don't want to talk about What the Golf launching a week early? What is
Yeah,
that?
the update launching a week early
A week
of a game that
early?
I have still yet to play.
A week
No.
early?
Yeah,
Hot
no.
diggity damn. This never happens.
I mean, there are a few games that I really enjoyed that I put into new stuff, but ultimately I was like, I mean, I don't feel like we can have a conversation about this. Like, it'll be like, man, this game looks interesting. And then that would be it. So instead, I was just like, you know what? We'll put it in new stuff. We generally do a good enough job of bullshitting anyway. We're like 13 minutes into this episode already, so I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. Might be a little shorter.
13
Everybody's like,
minutes of indie games goodness, right? We've talked so much about games
exactly.
already.
There's going to
People
be
are
that
like, "This
one
is great."
person that gets to the end or like goes to listen to the episode and they're like, what? An hour and 30 minutes? I was expecting 3 hours. And it's like, sorry, man. I'm sorry I decided to do that to you.
Yeah, that's going to be Phil.
Yeah, it's my
Phil's
bad.
going to be angry.
You know, so we aren't going to have any main news stories. So instead, we're just going to hop into our news cram. Then, of course, heading over to God Bless the Crowd or Kickstarter in God Bless the Crowd to talk about actually a very interesting game. The combat looks cool as hell. I'm excited to talk about it. We're going to answer your listener questions, and that's about it. But of course, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest average Josh Boy. So how you doing today, big Josh Boy? You're looking real kissable. I gotta be honest. Like you're looking good, dude.
Why, thank
looking
you.
good.
Yeah, I got freshly shaved. I cut my hair, but I still got a little bit of swoosh. It's like a baby swoosh now.
It's all about that
Baby.
swoosh, dude. Even the hint of the swoosh, as long as you know it's there.
Yeah.
That's all
you
you
never,
need.
you never go no swoosh. Got to have a little bit on the top. You know.
Little bit.
I'm
Keep
a little
you being a
hungover
cute
though.
boy.
But I'm
Really?
okay. Yeah, a little bit. Can you tell? Huh?
I can't believe it.
I know.
believe
I'm
it.
so tired inside.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've ever been hungover, and this might just be me like
You're blowing my fucking
misunderstanding.
mind.
Yeah, this might be me misunderstanding because of like TV shows that make it seem like you're just fucking incontinent, like you
Well,
refuse to
okay.
exist the rest of the day. But like, I don't think I've
No.
ever been hungover. I also don't drink though. I should preface with that.
yeah,
I've been
that's the
drunk like
thing.
3 times.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, this one's a little bit worse than usual because, like, as I've gotten older, they get worse. Like, your body is just like, we can't do this anymore. Stop drinking. So I, for the most part, have because when I was a kid, when I was like 18 and 21, when I was 21 and drinking.
When I was a kid and I was 12 and just drinking out of a champagne bottle on the swing set.
When I was younger, is the right way to say it. I would drink.
You're
I
like
would drink.
trying not to like talk about underage drinking, but you're also just like, my life's a little fucked up, so you just take that with a grain of salt.
What are you gonna do? I don't advocate it. It just happened. Anyway, so I used to drink like really heavily, and I would wake up the next day and I would just bounce back, and I'd be like, "This is great." Fucking, what are you talking about? Hangovers? It doesn't even exist. It doesn't happen to me. I'm fucking untouchable. And I just thought I was really good. And then I was like, oh no, I was just young. And as I've gotten older and older, the hangovers have gotten worse and worse. But these ones, so like, I didn't even drink a lot last night. Like I had a couple drinks, whatever. But for me, it's always nauseousness and just super tired.
Really?
So I just feel exhausted. I don't want to do anything, and I just kind of like have this nauseousness that goes like, it comes and goes. It like hits me in waves where I'm a little nauseous, and then it'll just go away and I'll be fine, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm great, and then it'll come back and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm still fucked up. And that's pretty much
You
what
don't
it
have
is.
that thing where you just like perpetually wear sunglasses the entire day, like in a dark room, you're just like
No,
in sunglasses.
that you would have to drink so much for that to really happen. Like I've had those days. Don't get me
Really?
wrong. Like not the sunglasses thing. I don't think that's real. But I've had the days where you're like you can't really take loud noises, or your head is pounding and like everything hurts and it's just a shitty day. Like, but I just don't drink like that anymore. So this is what it is.
You know what? I gotta be honest. I just thought about something and I was like, man, that's actually probably true. You know how like there is the subtle nod to like smoking is cool and you should smoke, like the cool cowboys smoking and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, what if the sunglasses thing doesn't exist, but it was a way to make drinking look cool? That like, oh man, you're hungover, but you're still looking stylish. You got these dope ass shades on. You can even wear them indoors. Sunglasses look cool, and the biggest issue is when you wear them indoors, you look like an asshole. But you actually have a reason now to wear them indoors.
Nobody looks good when they have a hangover.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah, I've never had a hangover. I've never fucked with that. Do you have any like hangover cures? Do you have any of those? Like people like, I drink a gallon of mayonnaise and I eat 3 strips of bacon and I'm good.
That's a great one. I haven't heard that one. No, honestly, mine
Obviously, I haven't come to Idaho. What's up?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Shit's in my bloodstream. For me, really, the only like I don't think anything works. Some people have these things where they like live and die by a certain technique. For me, it's literally just if I heavily drink, I make sure before I go to bed, I drink a ton of water. That's all it is. Because it's really like the hangover for the most part is just being like dehydrated and whatnot.
Yeah.
So usually it's like I'll always get it, but it's not as bad if I drink a ton of water beforehand. That's pretty much it for me.
Okay. All right. Of course, before we head into what we've been playing, we got to talk about our housekeeping. This week's developer interview, of course, going live on the 14th of July, is with Tactics Studios Incorporated, or just Inc., I guess. Maybe that's actually not incorporated. Maybe it's like incapacitated. I just have no idea.
Who knows?
You know what I mean?
Who knows?
They're talking about their game, Clair de Lune, or like maybe it's like Clair de Lune. I don't know. But that one's going live on the 14th, so please check it out. Once again, that is one day after for patrons and 2 days before for plebes. You could check out all of our amazing developer interviews. Big Josh Boy, been doing them each and every week for like, I gotta be honest, like 2 years, which I find insane, bro. You've been doing these a while. That's crazy.
It's been fun though. Like I love talking to the developers because you find all different kinds of stories. There was I don't know if I talked about this one, and I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but there was one I did recently that's going to come out in a couple of weeks for a VR game, and they're stationed in Florida, in like Miami, and so we're like real close. And I was like, oh shit! We had this moment when we first started talking, and the guy was just like, hey man, if you want to just come and actually like test out the game and like wear the VR like set and everything, he's like, just let me know when you're in the area and blah blah blah. And I'm like, this is so fucking cool. Like what an interesting experience to have, which I never would have if I wasn't doing this. But otherwise, like, you know, things like that, like I just enjoy talking to people about their experiences and like the games they're working on. That's good,
and they all have like really unique stories. I love it.
Yeah,
some of them like has spent their whole lives wanting to be game developers. Other people went into entirely different things and just like happened to become game developers. Some people develop video games and software for the military, which I find super weird.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
hey, it just shows indie developers are just everyone is a real person. We should, treat them with respect and such. So please check
Agreed.
out our developer interviews, of course, each and every Wednesday. They're fantastic. Please do so. Next up, I don't even know
I
if
love
nextly is a
Nextly.
word, but like, let's just
keep
move on.
that. Let's do that.
Nextly, I'm going to be talking about how you got to head over to that Teespring for the IndiePod store. I would show you that I'm actually wearing our IndiePod t-shirt, but it is cold in my house. So instead, you get to look at this cool My Hero Academia sweatshirt. It's a cool one. You see the UA right there? I've been told it looks like a real football team sweatshirt or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't have thought that was from an anime.
No,
I would
it's
have
an
been like,
anime thing. Yeah. That's
funny.
what I kind of love about it. Is
That's
like
like you trying
sometimes
to
when I wear
blend
it
in.
out. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes when I wear it out, people think I like sports, and I'm like, nah, not even a little bit. Like this is some weeb shit, bro. Like this is about kids with superpowers to punch each other. This is sweet. So please check out our IndiePod store. You got t-shirts, you got stickers, soon to be other stuff. Eventually it'll be other stuff. I've been saying that like eventually.
We've been saying that.
When
like
you
a
say
year or
something
two
for
now?
over a year, you can't say soon anymore. You just got to go like fuck yourself at that point.
It's gonna happen one day.
Yeah. It's a little bit too much. Please check out our YouTube channel. It is just IndiePod over on YouTube where you can watch these episodes. We've recently been having somebody who I actually think is also in our Discord, so maybe I should grab their name real quick. But they comment on every one of our video episodes. Like they actually watch them and they leave like hella long comments. Like they'll sometimes have like a little bit where they talk to me briefly in the comments of the YouTube videos about how like the definition of indie, or they talked about how way back when we had briefly spoken about the Five Nights at Freddy's dev, and like I in the episode said something along the lines of like forced out of the industry, and they were like, actually they weren't forced out, like this is kind of the situation, which I really love that we get to have this like nice discussion about indie games, like because the thing about podcasting is you say a lot of stuff just off the cuff you don't really think about until way after.
Right.
It's like weirdly hard in that way where you try to keep yourself on track, but you also are just like you're trying to be funny or something dumb, so shit just happens. But
do we do that?
Yeah. Almost never, actually.
Almost never. We're dumb.
Yeah, most
It's
of the
fine.
time I'm just monotone. Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about Hollow Knight. It is a cool game. They have bug boys. There's that one bug that I definitely.
Oh my god! Can we please stop? Can we please stop? I can't even go with the bit. Like too much.
So please head over to YouTube. Check out the IndiePod YouTube channel. We put these out each and every week. You can watch these. You can check out some of Josh's cool video reviews. I did a few demo impressions. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do there, but at the very least, you get a weekly video episode of IndiePod, which is fun. There's some fun little thingies that we do on the video episode that you requires the eyeballs. Yeah, so please do so. Leave us reviews.
See the wacky arms, you gotta tune on in.
Wiggly arm man.
Come on. I don't know why this is like really weirding me out the way my arms are moving. I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually like on the video, it's kind of freaking me out because it's like there's a slight lag, so it kind of looks like your arms are like ethereal in a sense.
Yeah,
it's looking weird. Maybe if we just did a booty show. We, instead of having our faces, we just had the cameras pointed at them thick cheeks. Maybe people would check out a little bit more. The other day, I'm not even joking, I was in my work shorts and I was like, man, I got a good butt. Like,
you gotta stop saying this. The thirsty patrons.
I know, dude. Biting. They're all like, where's them booty pics? And I'm just like, eventually, But also,
will we get booty pics before we get new t-shirts?
That's actually, that's possible. That's very possible.
Oh my goodness.
Please leave us reviews on any site in which you can do so. Specifically iTunes helps us out a bunch, supposedly. I don't know. I've been told that.
We'll see.
That could be a lie. But whatever. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons in general. If you give us any amount of money, you are amazing. But We have a social contract with those at the $3 tier and higher. And of course, we have to welcome a new patron. We've got Ethan, a gamer for fun, recently joined our Discord. Thank you so much for doing so. You've been hopping into the conversation. I very much love it. You were talking to me about Crowsworn, which looks fucking sweet. I'm not even joking. I almost did the $200 tier. I'm really not kidding. I was like, a physical game and I'd get a cool plushie? What? But then I saw that it was produced by Fangamer, and I'm going to be honest, I was like, they're just going to sell that when it comes out. So, like, I'll just buy it then, you know? Yeah. Also, one of their tiers, to get your name in the credits, you have to pay several $100s. And I was like, what? That's like the first thing that people give.
Guess they're like, nah, exclusives, baby.
I found that very weird. But back to the patrons. Thank you so much. Ethan, a gamer for fun. John. It's just John. Yeah, it's just John. We'll see. Mixamatosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Imp of Australia. Gotta go back, dude. I know you like the card game suck. I know you like it, Phil. But, like, you're the Wombat Emperor, and people gotta know. They gotta respect it. It's just what you gotta do. Chris Penwell, always drinking tea. Josh Nichols, a.k.a. Active Josh. And Sam Fillion from Canada. You're all amazing. Thank you so much for being patrons. And let's talk about what we've been playing this week. Big Josh Boy has been checking out Limbo by Playdead. So please, tell me about your experience with the dead babies.
Spoilers.
Like you don't know what Limbo is. It's where babies like it, isn't it really fucked up that there is a section like somebody when developing Christianity was just like, but like where do unbaptized babies go? Like the babies who just die, and they're just like they get to eat shit in limbo, I guess.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Which is really just fucked up, like let's be real, but whatever.
This is a podcast about Christianity. Welcome, everyone.
Chase has been wanting me to gaslight people for a really long time. Sucks for him. He's just not here for it. So, yeah, let's talk about our faith in the good Lord Jesus Christ.
That's gonna be hard because I'm half Jewish.
Josh,
they might not like.
Have you hid this from me? Ooh. I can't believe it.
Oh my God.
We've been doing this podcast for 143 episodes.
I know, it's crazy. Anyway, so we're gonna just fly past whatever that was a second ago, and we're gonna talk about Limbo. Xbox Game Pass, so nice. Get to play Limbo because it just came out. So if you have Game Pass, you can play it. It's also been free in a number of other places because it's a pretty old game at this point. But it was one that I talked about that I just haven't played. It wasn't part of my repertoire in the different games that I don't know where I'm going with this. I haven't played it.
It's not a roguelike is what you're trying to say.
It's not a roguelike, and it doesn't have cards. So I just haven't played it yet.
Yeah, not in your sphere of influence.
Not my of influence. I don't know about that. But I played Inside from Playdead, and I loved it. I thought it was so good. I loved the messaging behind it. And Limbo is very much the same. It's obviously I think it's a weaker version than Inside was, but I think that's kind of indicative of the fact that it is an earlier game. So I think they learned a lot from Limbo and put that into Inside. Inside. Anyway, but Limbo is really good, man. Like it's a fun little game. It's not very long. It's like a couple of hours. I really like the way it works where from a progression standpoint, it's like everything is broken down into scenes or like little like levels, so to speak, where you do one puzzle or move from one area. And then when you're past that, it's just you can jump to any of those points at any time once you've completed it. So it was cool to just go back. And it's also cool to see that from a progression standpoint, you can automatically see like, how far am I in this game? And you're like, oh, I'm about like 3/4 done. Like it's especially for me as someone who is doing this and going to like talk about it from like a weekly standpoint, it was nice to just be able to quickly see like, oh yeah, okay, I've done a good chunk of this game, or I haven't even touched the surface, right? To know really what I'm dealing with here. But if you don't know what Limbo is, it is very similar to Playdead games where you're walking through as a character and you're really just kind of, it's kind of like a walking simulator that has puzzles because you're just trying to get from like one side of the map to another. And there will be things where you have to like pull boxes, or you have to avoid things that are trying to kill you. Like there's a giant spider that's attacking you, and to get past it, you have to get a bear trap and pull it over.
Stabs you, dude, and it just rails you through the head and picks you up, and it's just
some of the deaths in this game are awful. Like
they're pretty fucked up, dude.
They're messed up. And it's very much a game that when it first happened, it was like a jump scare, because it was one of those things where they'd like stab you real quick, and I was just like, oh, I don't like that. It's like those spiders are nasty.
Especially because you're like, I get that it's really dark and melancholy, but these are children. They're like, they don't give a fuck, dude.
They're just like, you getting stabbed.
They'll wreck you. Yeah, and then there are kids that just throwing spears at you and shit.
Yeah, they're the blow darts, the spears. Yeah, you're like in this really strange land.
Yeah, some Lord of the Flies shit. You're like,
yeah, for sure. So you're just this child who's like trying to go from one area of the map to another. There's not a lot of story. There's no talking in it. It's all, you pick it up from like context clues of what's kind of happening. The big ending to it, I think, the way I interpret it, is a pretty interesting way to wrap it up. And I think it makes sense with the name, like the title of this game. Like you can kind of get a feel for what this is about if you like think about what the title of the game is. But I'd recommend it. I don't want to talk too much about it, honestly, because it really is just that. Like it's one of those games where if you like light puzzle, if you like basic platforming and kind of this very dark melancholy theme wrapped inside of it, like you'll enjoy it. The one thing I'll say about these games is, for me, the good thing about having that scene, like those level progressions, is these type of games, for some reason, I can't sit down and play them for a long time. Like I feel like I just get, I don't know that I'm bored, but I just get kind of like mentally exhausted of doing them for too long. And so I think I had the same thing with Inside, where I was like, I really liked it, but I'm just like, at a certain point, I'll be like, I need to put this down for a while. But it makes it super easy because, one, you could just come back because it saves for everything. But also you can jump to any act that you want to play and just redo that area.
So I do have to ask you, do you remember the section where you get that brain worm and you got to jump from ladder to ladder?
Yeah.
How far through the game is that?
It's pretty early in.
To tell me. Okay, good. I was like, I hope I wasn't anywhere. Like, I don't think I played that much of it, but if that shit was like later in the game, I'm gonna die. Because if it was just like,
no, it's pretty early in. It took me so long to understand how that mechanic worked.
Oh, it's so weird.
I was just like, why am I sometimes walking and sometimes not? And like, what is like causing me to go?
Makes you do a different thing. Like it's, I can't exactly remember. It's very weird.
So at first, like what happens is it'll fall on your head, and then you'll randomly be like, I gotta walk this way, and you'll just start going, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm moving, like my character's just moving.
All you can do is jump.
Yeah, and then eventually, at some point, he randomly would just be like, I think I'll go this way, and just goes the other way, and I was always like, why are you doing that? It took me so long to understand that it was just because you would walk towards light, and whenever there was light, the bug would get mad, and you would kind of like snap out of it.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it took me so long to figure that out. It was on the second or third one of those on my head, and I was like, oh, that's because it was like it made sense with the puzzle of like why I had to go like all across the map and then come back, and I was like, why does he just decide to go back at this point?
Oh, I don't think I ever noticed that. I got like probably halfway through the puzzle and just kept dying, and I was like, fuck this game, and just like stopped playing. But I do. Have you seen how Limbo is made?
What do you mean?
It's something that I would recommend everyone looking into, how like the art of Limbo was made. It's very weird. It's like pseudo stop motion. It's really interesting. I believe that Playdead has a documentary about it, but that's cool. I'm not 100% certain. But if you have a chance, just look into the development of Limbo. Maybe they have devlogs or something. It's really, really cool, because I think at the time it was only a few people, and they like consistently had to take pictures and shit. It was it was very weird, but game was really cool, very interesting. So you actually beat it?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to beat it?
A couple hours. It's not long.
Oh, okay. It's not that long. Okay.
No,
All right.
no, it's not that
Yeah,
long.
maybe I'll hop back into it. Dude, Xbox Game Pass keeps like, okay, so I told you a while ago that my credit card, like my debit card information got stolen again for like the third time in 2 years or whatever.
Fun.
And I haven't reset up my Game Pass subscription, but Xbox like every week is like, bruh, we tried to bill you again and like it didn't work. What are you doing? And I'm just like, this wasn't an annual subscription, fucker. Stop trying to bill me. Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's very weird, but yeah, I do want to get my Game Pass back so I could check that out. But for me, games that I've been playing this week, I bought both of these games while they were on the Steam sale.
They're stale?
Because I was like, yeah, they're very stale. While
Does that
they
mean
were
you don't
on
like 'em?
sale, no, I mean I do. Okay, so I'll talk about it. So I bought them both.
I'll stop
when they were-
interrupting you, I guess.
when they were on sale for the Steam like summer sale. So I bought one of them is Blasphemous by the Game Kitchen. I have played far less of this one than I have the other game that I've been playing. So Blasphemous, I've been recommended this game like 4 or 5 times because I spoke about how much I enjoy Souls-like games and how much I really love like Hollow Knight. So people have recommended Blasphemous to me several times and I've wanted to check it out, but to be honest, I don't like the body horror aspects of it.
Yeah, it's a little gruesome.
Really gross and creepy, and I'm not a big fan, you know? Like, I just don't like that very much, but I do, like, I want to get more into it because I feel like it might be a very rewarding experience because it is actually really difficult, and I like it so far. I've probably only played, like, maybe an hour or two, but I've beaten... I think only like one boss, and I've done some like exploration. It's interesting. I feel like that. Have you ever heard of like and this is something I learned in like a college course last year. Have you ever heard of the idea of speaking at high levels of abstraction? Do you know what that means?
No.
It's essentially using like a big word that encompasses a large amount. So like when you say one word, but the definition of that one word is actually like a sentence that's like really long and meant to mean a lot. I feel like Blasphemous actually does that. And it's kind of annoying where they like really, really hardcore lean into this biblical lore that I really don't understand. And I feel like I could get I feel like I could get more into it if I just understood at all what was happening, because there was this like apparently like a miracle that forced everyone that had committed sins or felt like they were guilty of committing sins, like forced them into these really fucked up ways of like making up for it. So I don't really know. Like, there are people who carry giant crosses around. There are people who are like nailed to trees. They're like but then there's like the penitent one who just has to be quiet. What? That seems like the easier of the few. What do you mean? And like after you kill the first boss, and this is something like, maybe I just have to look into it. Like, I gotta watch some lore videos, but they take off the weird hat and they cut open the boss, their blood fills up the hat, and they put on the hat. They just put it back on. They're like, it's cool. Like, I don't know. It was like fucking one of those, like, you know, the beer hats you put 2 beers in and you just have the straws. Like, is it that scenario? They drinking it? What's going on? Like, I don't know. Shit's weird, though, dude.
That is weird.
They're just like, at times they'll talk about your thorn, and like this one guy is like, I will give you this thorn to place on your sword that if it ever pokes your hand, that means the miracle is here. And I was like, what? What do you fucking mean?
Need translations here.
Yeah, I'm like, what did any of that mean? And it's like, I get that I just played Hollow Knight and they get really weird, but there are at least like normal fucking people like the Elder Bug who will be like, Yeah, dude. So there was once a kingdom. It's kind of fucked up now. Like, it's pretty broken. You know, it's like fucking Michael Pena, like, of bugs is Elder Bug. And then, like, but in Blasphemous, everybody's talking like a dickhead. And there are these weird people who are like, oh, we are healers. We are the wound kissers. And I was like, you're just kissing open sores? That's what you're doing right now? Are you being serious with me? Because that's pretty fucking disgusting. And like, you can actually see them in the background just kissing people.
They got them medical lips.
Yeah, they're like Recovery Girl from My Hero Academia.
Let me kiss them boo-boos.
Dude, it's weird. Like, there's these fucking blindfolded babies that are in these little glass cases that are collectibles that are held like fucking spirited around by ravens, and I'm like, what is that all about? Like, I understand the grubs in Hollow Knight. They're fucking caterpillars that some dick-ass entity put in a jar. Okay, I get it, but what's up with these fucking babies? Like, I don't get it. And like, when you die, and I understand, I'm not shitting on Blasphemous at all. This is just me not actually understanding the lore, and I really need to get more into it, because I feel like the gameplay is actually really, really fun and interesting. But like, when you die, so in Dark Souls, when you die, you wake up at the bonfire and you're looking a little grosser, a little bit worse for wear, because you hollow a little bit. In this game, when you die, you show back up at the checkpoint and you just get dropped off by a bunch of babies with wings. What's up with the fucking babies? Why are there so many goddamn babies? Like, I don't understand. It's so weird. So, but the little bit of this, the crux of this story is, I don't understand what's happening. There are a lot of babies, and don't kiss open wounds. You know, like,
man, what a moral.
This shit is weird. Have you played Blasphemous?
No, I've never played it. I was turned off by the movement in that game because it looks real clunkers.
Oh, it's slow. It's really, really slow. Granted, it's slow, but it feels good enough.
Right.
Like, it's not actually that clunky. And I like the fact that, like, this is me, once again, like, the really subtle touches is that you actually grab onto ledges, which I really like. So when you jump, you don't just like hit it and you're like, I fucking missed it. Instead, you grab onto like every other game, for some reason in platformers, they're like, my arms, they don't work except for ladders. I have to have a specific rung to hold on to. Otherwise, these hands, they're cursed to never touch a thing other than myself and ladders, as I said before. But it's fucking weird. But in Blasphemous, like, when you jump and you barely miss, you'll grab onto the ledge and you'll swing a little bit. And I'm like, shit, that's pretty fucking cool, dude. And, like, there's always this specific bit of equipment that you get in Metroidvanias, which is for, like, Hollow Knight, I believe it's called the Mantis Claw. In Chasm, it's like these special gauntlets that allow you to dig into the wall. But it's like the ability to scale walls. And that's always something that's given to you later in the game. In Blasphemous, as long as the wall is of a certain type of material, like wood, you just stab your sword into it. And it's kind of cool. So you just hop over, you stab your sword into the wall, and then you just hop up and you keep stabbing. And it's really interesting. There are a lot of like weird, like little quirks of Blasphemous that I find really, really cool. But then there's also the body horror and weird babies. And I really don't get it. Like, I'm like, what's up with the fucking babies, dude? Why you drinking this fucking grotesque beast blood? Like, I don't get it. But it's fun. I'm gonna get more into it. I'm gonna play some more this week. I'm not, like, none of this was meant to dissuade anybody from playing this game or talking shit about it. I truly just do not understand what's going on, and I can't say whether or not I like it. Like, I really can't.
We'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out next week, I guess.
It feels good enough, but I'm like, what's up with the fucking babies, dude? Why are there so many babies everywhere? So the other game I've been playing, this would have been a good game to like play last week, where the discussion of like what exactly is an indie game when we like spoke about that. So this one could be on the fence, really. So I've been playing Vampyr by DONTNOD Entertainment. Of course, the reason I say that is because DONTNOD has become a little bit bigger of a studio, but they are still an independent studio and publisher in France. They, of course, are mostly known for the Life is Strange series, but between Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2, the reason that they didn't develop Before the Storm and instead Deck 9 did was because they were developing this game, which is Vampyr, that is actually published by Focus Home Interactive. I believe a lot of the reason that people might not think this is indie is, one, the team size, and two, like for Life is Strange, that series of games, they've teamed up with Square Enix. For like, I believe it's Tell Me Why, that's with Microsoft. For Vampyr, it's with Focus Home Interactive. Like, they've always had a fairly large publisher, but I mean, I might be wrong about that. There was also Remember Me, which I think was, I want to say Sega. But a lot of people talk shit about that game. Remember Me. I feel like Remember Me is not actually developed by them.
It's published by, it's developed by DONTNOD, but it's published by Capcom.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember. There was like a whole, actually, the thing I'm thinking about is that Life is Strange was originally going to be called What If, but they had to change the title because the game was coming out at the same time as a movie called What If with Daniel Radcliffe, which is really good. I very much enjoy it. I would recommend everybody watch it. It's a good movie. But
good to know.
I've been playing Vampyr, and you play this guy named Jonathan Reed, who is a wartime surgeon in, like, basically, I would say, like, I don't want to say Renaissance London, but it's basically like, I would say when Jack the Ripper existed, that's this. I don't know what time in London that was, but it's like, it's pretty weird.
It looks like it says 1918 in London.
There you go. 1918 London. And there is an outbreak of the Spanish flu. It turns out it's much more mysterious than that, as the whole title Vampyr explains, is that Jonathan Reed is an amazing surgeon, and like he's like an analyst of blood. He's like the world's foremost analyst of blood, which is really funny. And it often brings up the fact that that's really ironic, that the guy whose whole deal is about blood is now a vampire. And it's like, haha, that's cool. I don't know why you specifically pointed that out. I could have gotten the irony on my own, but thank you for that. That's cool.
Just in case you missed it, guys.
Dude, I'm not even joking. The same character points it out like 4 times.
Wow, they're really
just
pushing
randomly. That point. Yeah, in conversation, I'm like, I get it. I get why it's ironic. Stop. Just stop. Like, it's cool. But
wow,
you play
what
this,
a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. You play this wartime surgeon who he comes back to London after being at war in France for quite a long time. And I believe he was there for 3 years, comes back, and you don't really get to see what he did up until then. The game just starts and it's like, you're in a pit of dead bodies. Oh, that fucking sucks. And it's like Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, where like you were just a dead person brought back to life. But instead, in Jonathan Reed's case, you're a vampire and you like accidentally kill your sister immediately. And they make a big deal about that. They're like, oh no, I killed my sister. And it's like, I understand that you're trying to make me feel about this, but I don't know who your fucking sister is. She could be Hitler. Like, I really don't understand. And he often is like, my Mary was a great woman. And it's like, I'm not even joking. Their relationship does feel a little incestuous, and that's a little odd because he's like really into his sister. And I'm like, whoa, bro, chill. But you become a vampire, you eat her. That fucking sucks. And you're immediately being hunted down by a bunch of vampire hunters. And you're like, what's that all about? I don't fucking know. Who knows? They're just a bunch of vampire hunters. Like, this game does so much. It tries to build this, like, insane lore, but it's like, they never explain it. And I'm like, what do you fucking mean? Like,
why would he eat his sister?
So he gets turned into a vampire and then abandoned. He gets turned into a specific kind of a vampire called an Ekon, which is like what you'd expect of a vampire, like a really cool one, like some Dracula shit. Not like a subservient vampire, which are called Skalds. And you're like, what's a Skald? It's like, turns out not what you thought. And it's like, I mean, you still have yet to fucking explain this shit to me. They keep... every fucking creature in this, they're just like, it's a branch of the immortal tree. And I'm just like, how is that fucking werewolf also a vampire? What do you mean?
It's just just a hairy vampire. That's all it is.
It's a different kind of vampire. And I'm like, what's this fucking... How? What do you mean? It just happens so often. Like, literally every creature that pops up, they're like, it's a vampire, but like a cousin of vampires. And I'm like, bro, at that point, like, is your fucking family tree so incestuous that it's some Hills Have Eyes shit? Y'all need to chill, okay?
Aren't we all vampires, really, if you think about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're all carbon vampires. Yeah. Yeah,
we're
exactly.
all vampires. That's what the whole moral of the story is. It's a happy ending where we find out we're all brothers and sisters by being vampires.
Dude, okay, you want to talk about morality in this game? This game has a really, really cool social, like, it's all based on, like, social pillars in societies where, like, if you want to, you could just fucking eat everyone. You can actually do that. You can just, as long as you gain enough of an ability to mesmerize them, to take them into a back alley, which is so hilarious. Because at times, it's just like, I'm going to take you 10 feet to the left from a population of people. And it's like, that's actually, I mean, sadly, that's kind of like indicative of bystander syndrome, where like you could actually probably do that and kill people 10 feet away from other people. And they'd just be like, okay, whatever. But you like mesmerize these people, you could take them away, you kill them, but then it's like a much faster way to level up. And it tells you that all the time. Like in every loading screen, it's just like having trouble. Why don't you eat somebody? Like you'll level up much faster.
Kill some bitches.
Yeah, it's like their blood quality is much better than these random dickheads. Why don't you instead just eat your friend? And it's like, goodness. Okay, I don't understand that logic, but all right, that's kind of cool.
Weird, dude.
Okay, so if you begin to eat all of these different pillars in society, of course, their districts, their like health rating is going to go low because the district just fucking sucks because all the good people in it you're just wiping out. But I don't really understand why if I eat a racist dude, that for some reason makes the fucking community worse.
Racists got bad blood.
Yeah, dude. And no, they got good blood. That's the thing.
Oh, they
it's
got
like
good
this
blood?
Racist dude. They're like, yeah, you can level up faster if you eat this racist guy. So I was like, yeah, I'll eat this dickhead. And then it's just like, ooh, but the community really suffered from that. Because it turns out he was also a bitch ass landlord. And like he was extorting a bunch of people. Oh man, I like he was doing so much for the community by making it worse. I don't understand. Like, he was a dickhead, and I ate him. If anything, it should be like, yeah, the world is, this area is marginally better.
Yeah, you're just a vampire superhero.
Dude, you know what's so funny, though? Is, like, this is a true... If anyone wants to understand what ludonarrative dissonance is, which is, like, it's when the storyline of a game and the gameplay don't exactly match, and it's very weird. Vampire does this so egregiously, where, like, I kill hundreds of humans, like a shitload. There's these pre-win guards who are vampire hunters who are just trying to kill the vampires because they're eating people. They're just trying to save humanity, and I fucking murk them. Like, I kill a shitload of them. And then, like, another vampire, like, eats dead bodies. I'm not even joking. They're already dead. And you're like, you're a bitch. Like, Jonathan's just like, you're endangering society by eating dead bodies. I can't believe you do that, but I'm going to go eat like 15 people real quick. I'll be right back. And it's like, what do you fucking mean? Jonathan is always on this high horse, and it's like, okay, I get it. I ate that one racist guy, and like, maybe for some reason that's not okay. Okay, whatever. Like, moving on. But, like, I can murder hundreds of people in the streets, and it's completely fine. But this guy eats a dead body, and it's fucked up? What? What do you mean? It's, like, it's so weird, and it tries to, like, at times it seems like it's trying to make things morally gray, but it never, like, fully commits to anything. It's just, like, the lore of the game every fucking time. Every mission, it's like, this is a new kind of vampire. And you're like, oh, cool. You want to explain that? And they're like, nah.
They're like, nah, it's a dog.
Yeah,
like, what?
exactly. They're like, it's just a big one. And I'm like, what? And they're like, it's a branch of the immortal tree. And I'm like, say it again. Say that fucking shit to my face one more time. I'll eat you. I don't care if you're a vampire. I'll fucking eat your ass. And it's like, skulls. They like to drink vampire blood. Since when? They've been eating people this whole fucking time, and now you're telling me that my blood is somehow sweeter? Like, this is I played this game for 10 fucking hours and not a single, like, and then they're just like, oh, there's this group of good skulls, and it's like, were all of them good? Have I just been murdering a bunch of good people this whole time? Because I don't get it. And like, dude, it's just so weird. I feel like it never fully commits to anything. But here's the thing. I've bitched about this for like probably 30 minutes. I like this game. I'm not even joking.
I knew it.
I enjoy this game where I'm like, it's actually kind of fun. I do like it. I like the fact that like the idea of leveling up is actually just evolving as a vampire. So you get experience from killing people and you then spend that on different vampiric abilities and you evolve. It's kind of interesting. And there was this one choice that I had, which I found morally really weird because it was like, so this guy named Sean Hampton in the game, which is like, this game is like 5 years old, whatever. I'm gonna spoil some shit. So this guy named Sean Hampton, and he's like this really good guy, becomes a pseudo vampire called a Skull because everything that is mystical in these fucking games is just a vampire, but like an inbred cousin vampire. And he becomes a Skull, and it turns out he's a good one though. He's only gonna eat dead bodies. It's like totally fine. I murder real people, but like I'm the good guy, so whatever. Yeah. And you have a choice with him where you're like, he could fuck up society, like he could start eating people, or I could trust him. Maybe he'll just eat dead bodies, like whatever. He seems like a cool guy. And they have these social features where if you learn more about people, it really incentivizes going through the dialogue trees of people to learn more about others so that you can actually like, it's not like Mass Effect where it's like, oh, I've got 50 Paragon points. I can convince you to like eat my ass. Like, it's not like that at all. Instead, you actually
real thing?
have...
Man, I haven't got to that part yet.
Turns out.
Super. Maybe I should start playing that game again.
Why do you think they got them booty cams all the time, bro? It's always about eating Shepard's ass. Like, it's
Hell yeah.
That's, like, the Reapers? Nah, reap this ass, you know?
Reap
like,
this ass.
But...
Whew, put that on the box.
So like, if you actually want the best dialogue tree options or like what would be morally appropriate for situations, you actually have to learn about these people. You can't just bullshit somebody you've never met before where you're just like, oh, I'm on my moral high horse. I've got on my soapbox and for some reason I changed your mind in a 5-second conversation. Instead, you actually have to learn about these people. So like Sean, for instance, because it's the only time I've been able to do it because I didn't know about it before. Sean, I went around and I asked all these people in his community about his life, and it turns out he's had a really fucked up life where he was a kid and he was like molested as a kid and he was also abandoned as a child. Like, he's had a really fucked up life and his life kind of sucks, but he's a good person. Like, he's a good person in spite of that. And it's very interesting. And because I learned those things, when you get to his dialogue options, you essentially get like, I'm gonna kill you because for some reason you're more fucked up than me, which doesn't make sense, because he hasn't killed a single person yet. Then there's like, I'll believe you that you're a good guy, but it turns out I went and read because I was like, I want the good choice. Is that really a good one? Because he seems a little bit sketch. Like, in every moment it gets, it's like it treats interactions with this guy like a harrowing experience. Like, when you see him, he looks creepy as fuck. And the music cues are like, whoa, like it's really intense. So I was like, I don't think that that's probably going to go well if I just trust him that he won't eat people. So instead, I just looked it up. I was like, which one's the best? And it turns out that if you forego 500 experience points, which is super weird because it's like the only time I've seen experience used for in a game, like used for something else other than leveling up your character. You essentially like forego 500 experience points to accelerate his evolution as a vampire to make it a little bit easier for him to compete with the thirst so he doesn't eventually kill people. Because if you just trust him, apparently the thirst gets the better of him and he starts killing people. And I really liked that. I thought that was so cool that it actually incentivized me going through these dialogue trees. Because before, I was always like, oh, why would I? Like, why do I need to learn more about these people just so I can finish a quest? That's fucking stupid. I could just eat them or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it turns out that these like big, like if you want the good choice, you have to work for it. And I actually really like that.
I like that because a lot of the times with those types of games, like, don't get me wrong, I love RPGs and I love like the heavy, you know, like dialogue and choices and things like that. But when it comes to those kind of games, you can kind of, for the most part, pin out like what's important and what's not. When they're like, oh yeah, we have this quest for you, and then you have like the option to leave, but then there's also like, tell me about the king of Zimbabwe, and you're like, what? I don't know, fucking just let me go do my thing, right? Like, but this is like, oh, you have to learn about Zimbabwe king because otherwise you won't be able to save him from an existential crisis or like whatever the fuck is happening in this game.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like by far the most interesting feature of Vampyr is this like this social hub feature where you have to learn about people and you have to keep these communities healthy and you can't eat them, but it's actually a detriment to you as a character if you don't eat them, because if you don't, that means you'll be under-leveled for all of these big battles throughout the game. Like I just got to a boss fight where they're level 22 and I'm level 15, and like I've died like 5 times and it's like, BT dubs, if you just eat your buddies you can level up. And I was like, that seems pretty fucked up. Like I don't want to do that.
I have heard about this before. I forget who I was listening to that was talking about this, but I do enjoy the idea of like, to get that like the good person ending, you have to be just like super weak. Because you're just like,
you have to sacrifice things, which I like. It's like, to take the high road, you should have to make sacrifices. You shouldn't just be Shepard being like, it's just what's right. And they're just like, fuck, dude, you got me. I was going to eliminate the universe, but like, you fucking got me, bro. Yeah.
And then they eat his ass.
Exactly. Yeah. That was actually like the thing that people were really annoyed about with Mass Effect 3. Is that they thought it was going to be about fighting the Reapers, but actually it just morphs into a hentai game all about getting deep in them cheeks. So, spoiler alert for anybody who just bought the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, it probably should have an NC-17 rating. You know what I mean? But like, whatever. Let's see them cheeks. But I actually really like Vampyr. I think it's really interesting. The combat itself can get a little clunky at times. It tries to do the Souls-like combat where it has a stamina bar, but like every swing of my weapon takes like 90% of that. You can level up your stamina, so I guess that's probably just my problem.
Throw it out.
Yeah, the combat is just a little bit shy from being good, but it's still really interesting. I like the game a lot. I think it's fun. Even though
cool.
Every time I'm like, can you tell me about vampires? They're just like, yeah, this guy, this fucking fairy is also a vampire. And I'm like, how? What do you fucking mean?
Everyone is a vampire. That's just what it is.
Yeah. And then, like, it's so weird because you'll fight a boss. Like, there was supposed to be a big moment. Like, they had this one moment where I asked this, like, Elder Ekon, that's the kind of vampire I am. I asked her about this guy that I had literally never seen before. I'm not even joking. I don't know when this moment was supposed to happen, but he was like, yeah, I once saw this big guy. Who was that? And she's like, I know exactly who you're talking about. It was this guy. And I was like, I don't know when I saw this fucking guy, but okay. And then he just randomly shows up like halfway, like later as a boss. And I was like, who the fuck are you? And he acts like he's had a conversation with me. And I was like, I've never seen you.
It's just like, don't you remember? I was your best friend this entire time.
Exactly. I was like, who the fuck are you? And then at the end of it, literally, I'm not even joking. It's like, I don't know anything about this guy. I just go to some random ass person that I've also never spoken to before, but for some reason, they're very forthcoming about vampire society and everything, even though they are skulls who are meant to be like the lowest of the low and hunted by all other vampires. Really trust me because I'm a doctor and I've only eaten one racist guy. And it was like, they're just like, you know what? I understand that for, a millennia, we've had beef with your kind of vampire, but like,
But
You
like,
looking
cute.
real cute. Yeah. Seriously, Reed is like the only attractive vampire. I'm not even joking. Everyone else just looks fucked up. Like they've got like sections of their skin missing and like weird like creepy dimples and shit. And then there's fucking Econ Jonathan Reed who's just like, I'm looking spooky sexy. Like it's very weird, dude. And then like they're just like, oh, turns out that guy looked different because he's a different kind of vampire. And I was like, how many kinds are there? Stop. Just fucking every time, dude. I'm like, say it one more time. I swear to God, I'll fucking deck you.
Can't sell a non-sexy vampire as the main character. Come on now.
I wish he looked dumpy as fuck. I wish so badly that he looked dumb. It would be so much funnier. Like, you know how people go through like, they go through Mass Effect or something and they do their custom shepherd and they look fucking stupid, but they're having these really intense conversations. Like Garrus is just about to snipe somebody and it's like this really emotional moment. And then they go to you and you've got one eye up here, one eye down here and pink hair. And it's just like, Garrus, please don't do this. And you just look like a fucking, like a goldfish that's been mutated over thousands of years. Like, I wish that Vampire would let me do that because I would love to be Jonathan Reed, just not being spooky sexy.
I can dig it.
But yeah, Vampire is really interesting. It's actually really fun. I would recommend people check it out if they get a chance. Just don't expect to understand anything. I guess that was like my main takeaway from both Blasphemous and Vampire.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is happening?
You're like having a fun time, but also what is this?
Yeah, exactly. So
I get it.
See,
you know
Josh,
what?
I told you that we would get the time.
I was just about to say something. Time is flying right now.
I fucking told you. So, of course, since we don't have any main news stories, instead we are going to be hopping into News Cram.
Cram. Me.
News Cram is our News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of IndiePod and Indie Games podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie games news. This week we have just a bunch of new stuff. No real news stories or new deals and quick steals, but of course, there are probably indie games on sale somewhere. Let's be real, they're always on sale. There's a lot of indie games.
Forever on sale.
Unless you're on PlayStation, then probably not, because they
just
have to be
wrecked.
invited to sales. So that
still blows my mind, dude. What a world! Like, what are you talking about?
Dude. It's so fucked up.
It's very much
so funny in a fucked up way.
It's very much the house, buying your own house and then having an HOA where you're like, I own my own house, I can do whatever I want, and then the HOA is like, actually, no. You have to do what we want. Yeah. You can do anything you want as long as it's agreed upon in this list. And you're like, what? But it's my house. And they're like, technically.
You're like, if anything, they're like, it's kind of the bank's house. So like, do you really like have a say in any of it? Like, should we go to the bank and be like, hey, their mailbox looks a little fucked up. Let's change that.
Well, anyway.
So, our first 10 items of new stuff come away in Nintendo Life, where it's reported that golf game What the Golf by Tri-Band just received a new update on the Nintendo Switch, which includes 120 new levels, a new... I actually think it's got a couple of new themed areas, and much more. That puzzle game Grindstone by Capybara Games has received a new update titled Lost Lair, which will add 20 new levels, new gear, a new area, and much more to the game. That top-down sci-fi action... Also crazy. The top-down sci-fi action game Blackwind by Drakkar Dev is headed to all current and last-gen platforms, including PC via Steam sometime later this year. That racing game, I thought you were going to be like, also crazy, after every single one.
I was thinking about it, but I was like, that'd be too many. That'd be too many. But I was going to be like, I don't know anything about the game, but also crazy.
The racing game Lowly Mountains Downhill by Megagon Industries just received a new update titled Summer Strolls, which adds a new mirror mode, unlimited sprinting, new obstacles, and much more to the game. That racing game Crash Drive 3 by M2H is now available on the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam. That RPG Tales of Iron by Oddbug Studio is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on September 17th. That game looks so fucking cool. It's like some
Yeah.
fucking Redwall shit or Mouse Guard. Like, I don't know why everybody hates rat and mice, but like once they pick up a sword in a weird medieval fashion, I'm fucking into it, dude.
Do you remember, we talked about it on Kickstarter a while back? There's this one RPG where it's like these mice and he has like a Swiss Army blade knife as a weapon.
I
Like,
know what you're talking about. I have just forgotten. I believe it's called Tooth and Tail, but like I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. That I'm so excited for that to come out.
Yeah.
Really.
That game was
Damn, is it?
awesome. I really, really loved it. I've followed it on Twitter for a while, and on occasion I see it.
Yeah.
That adventure game, Unavowed, by Wadjet Eye Games. That's Wadjet.
Wascally Wadgets.
Yeah, I guess. Is now available on the Nintendo Switch. That roguelite action game Dreamscaper by Afterburner Studios is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam in its 1.0 state on August 5th. That adventure game, I don't know how to say this word, Hermitage,
Sounds about right.
Strange Case Files by ArrowWiz, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam sometime later this summer. And lastly, that shoot 'em up game Risk System by Newt Industries LLC is headed to the Nintendo Switch on July 15th. I had like a burp, like barely coming up.
Yeah.
Like 6 times. I'm like, just fucking burp already, dude.
Oh my goodness. So gassy.
I know. Now over to Polygon, where it's reported that sci-fi exploration game Jet: The Far Shore by Super Brothers is headed to both PlayStations 4 and 5, PC via the Epic, and PC via the Epic Game Store sometime later this year. That Metroidvania action game Fist Forged in Shadow
looks so
Torch
cool.
by TI Games or TI Games, I'm not sure, is headed to PlayStations 4 and 5, as well as PC via Steam on September 17th. And that Kung Fu Brawler Sifu by Slow Clap has been delayed to early 2022. Now over on Twinfinite, where it's reported that action-adventure game Omno by Jonas Manka, I don't really know, is headed to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on July 29th. Check it out. Omno looks really awesome.
Don't you
one
have
of the
a-
first? Yeah, one of the first pieces I ever wrote was about Omno because I really love Omno. I've always
Did you?
thought it looked
Was
cool.
that one of the ones that you backed on Kickstarter?
I believe yes. I believe I did. I'm not 100% certain.
That is the true response from a person who has back to Kickstarter. Is like,
you're like, I think I did.
Did you put money into that? And like, maybe it's been years now. Like, I don't know. I keep getting every so often those email updates from like games that won't be very responsive or like open about stuff. They'll be like, oh, it's been a couple of months. Like, sorry about not saying anything. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I put money into that game.
The crazy thing is when you get updates like every week, you get like weekly updates. Like Haiku the Robot, I back that, and like basically like every week or two, they're like, this is what we added. This is what we added.
That's
we
cool,
delayed
though.
the release date because we're adding this. And I was like, that's so fucking awesome. You are so hard at work. It's fucking crazy. It's awesome. And then there's like Rows of Starcross that I backed, and I have gotten like, that was like over a year ago, and I've gotten like 2 updates.
You're like, I have no idea what you're doing. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, if it's such a gamble. Like, if you're going to put money into a Kickstarter, just put money in and then just forget it's ever a thing. And hopefully one day you are pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Sadly, it's like you just really can't expect anything.
No,
You just,
no, for sure.
yeah. It just, if anything, expect to be disappointed. And then if it comes out, you're excited. You're
Hell
happy.
yeah. Set
Yeah.
that bar low.
Exactly.
my
Lower
life-
your bar,
life
up your
lesson.
average. You know what I mean? So now, our last one is over on IGN, where it's reported that action platformer My Friend Pedro, Ripe for Revenge by Dead Toast Entertainment, is headed to Android and iOS devices on August 5th. I believe this is actually a follow-up to My Friend Pedro, but it is a free-to-play game that's going to be on mobile in August.
Devolver has really been playing around with like mobile stuff lately. Of doing these little cutesy games or things like that. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to push for eventually some bigger market in that area.
Yeah, like mobile games being taken more seriously. I don't know. There was already like Apple trying to make it obviously be taken more seriously with the
With Apple Arcade.
with Apple Arcade, which is weird though, because when Apple Arcade first came out, like last year or the year before, you always heard about it. And you heard about like, oh man, it's so cool. We've got Grindstone. We've got all these cool games.
Yeah,
I haven't heard about it since.
Super quiet afterwards. I heard about it
weird.
one other time, and it's because I think I was GameSpot After Dark I was listening to, and I think it was Tamor saying something about like, oh, they added like a few new games out of nowhere, and it was like really, really good games, blah, blah, blah. But like, other than that, I haven't heard it in any like news articles. I haven't heard anyone really talk about it. And like I've said before, and I think you're on the same page, like I don't have any Apple products, so I just can't be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the funny thing is, I think the only things I've heard about it since it launched was games coming from Apple Arcade to other stuff, like Grindstone coming to the Nintendo Switch and shit like that. It's super.
And granted,
weird.
Grindstone was great, but like
I've heard great things.
I was able to wait, you know, like that's kind of the thing.
You're like, it was just so much sweeter because I waited. That's why I waited for marriage to get dick down. Like, So
that was weird.
Now we've been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it is time for us to give back to the creators. In our next segment, God Bless the Crowd, this is where the biggest of average Josh boys find something awesome on any sort of crowdfunding site and we talk about it. I mean, it's got to be an indie game, but like that's pretty much the only thing. It's got to be an indie game and it's got to be on a crowdfunding site. Like that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Pretty low bar.
Pretty low, but I don't know if that's the way to describe it, but whatever.
So this week we're headed over to Kickstarter to check out Mira, the Legend of the Djinn, or Djinns. Actually, it's multiple. There's several Djinns. Mira is a love letter to Metroidvanias and featuring a world based on the Moroccan and I believe it's supposed to be like Amazigh. How do you say that?
I guess it would be Amazigh.
Amazigh?
I
don't know.
Mythology. Let's ask Google.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Errol did bring this up like way back when. I can't remember exactly when it was. It was like basically one of our first few episodes because that was when Errol was like always on. Was he was like, I want games to start exploring different mythologies other than Norse mythology because like everyone was going into it, and I love that we're really like, I mean, slowly over time we're starting to see that with like different games. We've got like I believe, I can't remember the game that he was specifically talking about. I believe it was like South American mythology, but I'm not 100% certain. It was kind of interesting. But we've seen like games that explore Danish mythology. Now it's like Moroccan and Amazigh? Okay, there you go. It's Amazigh. I got it. So, what... of course, the developers of this game are looking for $75,000. That is their goal. Currently, at the time of this recording, they have 6,244 with 142 backers and 24 days left to go. The developers are called Little Night Games, LLC. So, Big Josh Boy, tell me what you think about Mira, the Legend of the Djinns.
Game looks cool. That's it.
It does. It looks cool.
That's it. No, the game. So the game reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of Skull in a way, in its combat. Okay. So I talked about Skull earlier this year, and Skull also reminds me of MapleStory. And I get a lot of these vibes. What are you talking about, Big Josh Boy? The combat really reminds me of it because it's the same kind of like jumpy, like constantly slashing enemies. The numbers flying up. It's a little bit of a grind in killing some of these enemies, it looks like you're slashing them quite a few times. You've got these really cool, like flashy abilities of you dashing around and like spinning and hitting people and stuff like that. Like the combat to it looks good. I'm really into it. Sweet. I'm really into it. I like the fact that they have like weapons, which are all upgradable to like up to level like 7 levels or something like that. They have a whole skill tree and different types of combos that you can unlock and buy. They seem to have a number of items, like they have like the bombs and general things, but you're also like able to climb up walls and things like that. Like the traversal in this game looks really cool. Like there's one that I'm looking at right now where they have like this staff where they just kind of like shoot a beam out and then like teleport to a different place as long as there's these little like block areas. So there's a lot of things that they're putting into this.
Like a hook shot.
Yeah. a lot of things in this that I feel like are pretty good, especially when you're thinking of like a Metroidvania, right? Like this very much does look like a classic Metroidvania-esque game, but with just a more, I guess, arcadey type combat to it, if that makes sense. I think it looks cool. I do enjoy like what you were saying about the story being not just the same type of mythology that we see over and over again. Granted, from my point of view, I don't know how well that will be played out. But yeah. I mean, granted, it's better that there's a little bit more diversity. All the characters in it look very different. One guy's got a carrot for a nose, it looks like.
Dude, right? Bro looks weird. And he's always got this bird like fucking attacking his eyeball.
His eye. Yeah.
And it looks like it's shit on his fucking scarf and he just does not care.
Yeah. I think the characters in it look very cool. I'm interested in this world. I'll say this though. Kickstarter goal for them is kind of high. Yeah. I think, and it's not to say that this game doesn't deserve that, right? It's not to say that like that's not what they need. They probably budgeted and they said that's what we need to go with it. But I think they might have, like, we always talk about 15 is the normal price, right? I think if this is your goal, they might have done a little bit better by increasing that. Because like they've got 142 backers already, which is a pretty high number when you think about this. Like there's some games that will still make it with only that amount of backers. Yeah. But if you're talking about 15 and like the difference between 15 or making it 20, you would have had 5 times that 142, which is a good chunk towards your goal, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, though, I think the game does look good enough to where I totally believe that they could hit 75,000. The game looks really good.
Yeah, for sure. And this is one of those ones where like not everything is shown, right? Like we didn't have a trailer where you're like, this is all of the different types of combat and here's the bosses and blah, blah, blah. But what they did show,
they mostly just focus on gameplay instead of really getting into the story all that much too.
Right. But the thing is, it has the good basis of you being able to tell like, this is a working prototype, like, right? Like this is an MVP of the game, what you're looking at. This is the minimum viable product of what they have to offer from a Kickstarter, where it's not just like it's kind of up in the air. Like, what could it be? Like, how we have Kickstarters on here sometimes where we're like, what does combat look like? They're just showing the enemies and then showing you hopping around, but they didn't show any it's not one of those situations. So I'm in the same mind as you. I think they can do it, but I think it's going to be an uphill climb. Which I hope people hear about this. I hope they see ours, our episode kind of showcasing this. I admittedly, they're going to be a developer that I interview.
Oh.
But yeah, they reached out, which I was like, oh, this game's actually really cool. And I was like looking at our calendar and I was like, hey.
It's going to be a while.
I was like, I can fit you in, but our episode would go live the last day of your Kickstarter.
Ooh,
and I was like, we're going to showcase it on the episode now. Right. And I was like, look, you're probably super busy. Like if you don't have time, like I get it, because that's not going to give you a lot of traction and it's going to be people who might miss it and be like, oh, fuck. But they were like, no, that's super chill. Like, thanks so much for the opportunity. So I was like, all right, we'll do it. But I did want to showcase it just because of that. But I hope that they can make it, not just because they reached out, which like, it's always nice to be wanted. But it just looks super cool. I'm very confused at how health works. Like, is it a 3-hit and you're dead with that red little like the buttons there?
That's a good point. I didn't actually think about that. Like, I mean, Hollow Knight has like the like 8 shell bits, and it's like, okay, you can only take like 8 hits. But yeah, this does look a little bit different, where it also looks like there's possibly like 4 squares inside of each larger square.
Yeah,
at least when a piece of health is depleted. So I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
There's a couple things in here that I still have questions around, but like the base, like the core of this game's entity is something that I'm excited about. I definitely want to see more.
And it's not a feature that is implemented right now, but since we've really been talking about how like the combat looks really good, and I think that's easily the biggest seller for this game is that the combat looks
for sure.
really, really good. And they say that they're trying to focus on fast and fluid combat, and I think they easily nailed that. 100%. It looks so good. But like of course, it's hard to know exactly if you're going to like a combat system without playing it. They do say that they don't have a playable demo right now, but midway through their campaign or possibly earlier, they will have a playable demo. So that's something to look forward to. If you're not 100% sold by just looking right now, possibly come back a little bit later in their Kickstarter campaign. You can check out that demo. Honestly, though, this one looks really, really good. I'm actually like... I don't want to say I'm surprised because that sounds like I was expecting worse, but I think it looks really, really good. And like $15 is not a very high price point to get in the game.
Yeah, I think that this is an interesting one to pick up. I think there's probably a lot of people who would enjoy this style of gameplay and should check it out for sure. I also really like, I don't know why, because I don't look too far into this, but I always enjoy when, and I assume this is a made up language, but when games create their own like universe.
The like glyphs.
Yeah, the glyphs.
They look really cool. Like how they put them at the beginning of their like Kickstarter thing and they have them just randomly throughout. Yeah. I think it looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
Which actually might be a language that we just don't understand.
That's kind of why, that's kind of why I didn't want to just be like...
That it's a made-up language, yeah, because it is based on like mythology, so it's 100% possible that is actually like an ancient language, and we just don't understand it or read it. Yeah, but it does like the characters look really cool. Like, and I'm talking about the actual like written characters; they look very, very cool. So I don't have anything more about the game other than I think honestly that the combat is. It looks like some of the best I've seen in a while. I'm gonna be real. Yeah. Like it looks really good. How much like the only thing that I would be worried about is like how you were talking about. It looks like battles can be somewhat grindy because you hit them a lot before they die. I'm wondering if that's just because of the weapon that they were using or something like that. Like maybe it feels fluid, but maybe the actual damage percentages that you're doing just make combat feel weird. So I'll definitely be coming back for that playable demo, and I'd recommend everyone do it. Just periodically check in to see when they have this playable demo because it looks really good. But once again, this game is over on Kickstarter. It is the Legends of the Djinns Mira, or just Mira, the Legends of the Djinns. So be sure to check it out. The game looks really, really cool. Combat looks awesome. And if you don't check it out now, maybe check it out in like a week or two. They've got 24 days left to go, so maybe they'll have that demo out by then and you could see if you'd enjoy it. But now we're going to be heading into our audience questions. Our first question comes from Sam Filligan from Canada. Writes in and says, red pill or blue pill? Because apparently they've been getting into the Matrix. So what's up? Red pill, blue pill? What's up, dude?
Red pill is the one where you learn about stuff, and blue pill is just being ignorant, right?
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
Yeah, from what I understand, the red pill is what like takes Neo and others out of the Matrix and into the real world where they're being basically just like siphoned. I haven't seen the Matrix in like since I was a kid. I'm not even joking. I was like,
been a long time.
Probably fucking 10, and I saw the Matrix, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, and then I saw The Matrix 2, and I was like, they're ghosty boys with dreadlocks. That's definitely some sort of cultural appropriation. It's a little weird, but like, okay, cool.
You said that a 10? Well, that's pretty.
Yeah, it's easily a 10. So red pill or blue pill, Big Josh boy?
It's tough because like
it depends on the scenario, but I believe they're asking in the idea of the Matrix, which means that you would live.
I don't want to be in that world.
Yeah, you would leave your perfectly nice world to live in a dirty, like a shitty world where robots are trying to murder you all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty. You know, like I may not be the happiest person in the world, but I'm pretty content with where I'm at right now. I don't need none of that.
It should also be said, though, if you take the red pill, maybe you could be the chosen one like Neo and go back into the Matrix and fly around like Superman. Right?
I don't think I have that luck, so I'm gonna stick with blue pill because I ain't going in that fucking world.
Yeah, I don't think I would choose it either. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's cool, but like, I would rather just be that person like sitting in the Matrix, eating popcorn, watching Neo, like fucking running around, like kicking the shit out of people while holding onto a bar. Like, I would rather be the Oracle in that situation, who's just like fucking chilling there, like on a bench, watching 85 of this weird ass white dude fight this other weird ass white guy. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. Can you imagine if that, like, how short that movie would have been if he was just like, nah, blue pill. Like, well, shit.
he's like, a world of possibilities. Or you get to stay here. And he's just like, I mean, the world, like, they literally show him, he's like, they're like fucked up robots that are trying to murder you all the time. And he's like, I'm not, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good, buddy.
Yeah, takes out blue pill. He's just like, I'm going to go back to my desk job, bro. Like, I'm going to go sit in my cubicle. Like, I often say, fucking ETH's kind me into a death game, but like, this is not the death game I'm talking about, okay? Like, I don't want to fight these hella weird robots. I don't want to have kung fu powers. I just like, nah, I'm good. Blue pill all the way. And I think Sam also said that they were like watching the Animatrix. I don't even know what that is. People have talked about it several times. I don't even know what it is.
It's an animated series of like the Matrix. There's like random stories around it. I watched it a long time ago. I don't remember anything of it though.
It's like an animated anthology or something?
Something like that. Yeah, like it plays into some of like the background story of what's happening in that world. If I remember correctly. Maybe I'm like way off because it's been a long time since I've seen it.
I've wanted to watch The Matrix for a long time though. Like, I actually get into it to see what's up because I like in my philosophy 101 course that I took as like my first class ever in college. My like it was like a lecture class and my teacher was like went into this entire diatribe about how The Matrix, talking about how life is just a simulation. All of these like philosophers were like, they were like, yeah, that's exactly what we thought. I thought that was kind of cool. So I've been wanting to watch The Matrix for a while. I just haven't done it. So
One day.
Moo Schroeder writes in, aka Captain Bang, writes in and says,
Bang, bang.
have either of you played Curse of the Dead Gods? It seems like something that both of you might be into, roguelike with some soul stamina elements. So this is actually not the first time that Moo has recommended this to either of us. This is probably like the fourth time. And I don't think that either of us have actually checked it out since.
I've known about this game for a while. Back when it was first, it like blew up for a hot minute when it was in its early access phase. Like a bunch of streamers played it and everyone was like, wow, real cool game. And then it just kind of got quiet. But I think that's how a lot of games are, honestly.
Yeah.
And it came out at a time where I was like, this looks really cool. But I also had just been playing a ton of like roguelites back to back of things like, what is it? The Rogue Legacy 2 came out, the early access. I was playing Dreamscaper. There was like a bunch of different ones. And I'm always playing
West of Dead.
The West of Dead. Yeah. I'm always playing Binding of Isaac. And it's one of those things where like, I love roguelites, don't get me wrong. But when you play so many of them, they get exhausting because the whole premise behind a lot of these is the fact that you need to get good and you need to learn the mechanics and you need to learn the world around it. And like sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to jump into a new one of these because there's just so much into it. But it's weird, man. I think that eventually I will, because I have seen it and I'm like, this looks like something I would enjoy. I love the way that as you're progressing, it like constantly curses you and is like a negative against you, but can possibly be a positive. Just like adding to that variability of it. But also I hate soul stamina elements, man. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I know, man. I cannot stand that part. Big flop.
So for Curse of the Dead Gods, I've seen it several times. I believe the only reason I actually haven't really checked it out is because like it hasn't gone on a sale that I was just like, oh man, I gotta buy it right now. And I feel like somebody's gonna tell me in like 5 seconds it's on Xbox Game Pass or something. I'm gonna be like, oh well, I'll just go fuck myself. But like, No,
I mean, if it went to Game Pass, I'd try it. I mean,
yeah.
then
I feel like
have
Game
no
Pass
excuse.
is like the perfect place for roguelikes because it's just like sometimes you never know if you like it. Like if I'm this sounds mean, but if I bought Streets of Rogue, I would have been like, why? Like it's not a game that I very much enjoy. Yeah, like but that's why Game Pass is so perfect for those kind of games because it's just like, well, I mean, just perfect for any game in general because you never know if you're gonna like it. So if Curse of the Dead Gods comes to Game Pass or is like $5, I will 100% get it. No, I'll play it in like different circumstances, but the game does look really cool. I've actually really enjoyed the like look of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
In all honesty, though, I think the main character looks stupid, so there's that. Yeah, I think he looks like a bitch. So
damn,
isn't he like slightly balding? Isn't that
I don't remember. Is he?
He's got like mutton chops, and I'm like, man, like a white guy with mutton chops. That's fun.
Is he balding?
No, he's not. He's not balding at all. He's just like a white guy with a beard.
I was like, what?
No, I actually, the thing I like most about it is actually like this, I would say like pseudo cell shaded look to it. It reminds me a lot more, of like a more colorful West of Dead, because West of Dead is just we have these dreary ass color palettes. But Curse of the Dead Gods looks really, really good. It looks awesome. I haven't checked it out. I haven't.
Yeah, I have heard good things though. It's got pretty high ratings for what it is. So it's one I'll get to eventually. I don't know. I can't pick up anything new right now that I need to like that's the thing. I talked about this on the last episode, but like this month is hectic as hell. But after this, I'll probably have some more time, so maybe I'll decide to pick it up and actually devote time to a game. But like right now, it's like all work or then possibly sneaking in some Isaac time.
Okay. You're like, dude, why do a new roguelike when I could just keep playing Binding of Isaac? Yeah.
Dude, I keep telling you, man, it's like anytime I think I'm going to get bored of it, I unlock one of the new characters or I find some new cool combination and I'm like, I'm just going to play this for a couple another 20
another
hours or so.
Hours?
Another 100 hours or so. Yeah, it's a lot of time.
But that is our last question. Yeah, I had to burp again. Just got to get that out of there.
Gassy
that was our
Vaughn.
last question for this week. So that is the end of this episode. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside the show, you could do so in a bunch of different ways. Specifically, follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter for notifications of when our episodes go live, both the normal episodes and developer interviews. I'm going to try to be better at the Twitter. Going back to my old job, I've found like managing the Twitter a little bit, I guess, more difficult because I had like alarms set for my previous job and now I'm back at my old job and it's like really weird. And I like, for some reason, I did this job for like almost 3 years and never like took naps when I came home. But now every day I'm like, I'm so fucking tired. I just want to lay down and fall asleep. Maybe it's because it's like 107 degrees on my drive home.
Dude,
but like,
what is happening to the world right now?
Yeah.
We're turning into an oven.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's just global warming. Like, let's be real.
Man.
All those people are like, nah, global warming's not real. And it's just like, dude, places that are normally cold are like 100 degrees right now. What do you mean?
That one, I forget what state it was, but the one state where they're like cable cars, the metal just like melted. It's like,
really?
Dude, okay, here's the thing. If global warming is real, whatever you want to believe, right? I don't care what you want to believe. It's fine. You do you. But if it is a thing, and the world is getting hotter, which it seems to be because every year we have a new record high of heat, eventually the shit we built is not ready for these heats, and all of our shit is just going to melt.
Yeah.
Specifically us, too. Like, I can't deal with these. Like,
you're like, fuck your cable car. Like, our skin is going to melt.
But also, yeah, dude, there's people out there that are just like, well, I'm good, and just dropping because it's too hot. It's too hot.
Dude, it's so hot. So, crux of the story, be sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter. You can check me out on Twitter at Hyde Legion. That's HYDELEGION. Check me out there. I've been thinking about, so I'm assuming you saw, I think you actually commented on it, like Morgan put on Twitter that they were going to, like, every time they added something to their wish list, they were going to put it on Twitter to hopefully, like, increase the visibility of it. I think that is such a good idea because I add so much fucking shit to my wish list.
To wish lists, yeah, all
and
the time.
Like, we don't really ever get to talk about it, so I think I also might be doing that. Like Tooth and I think it was, what was it? Fuck, I literally talked about it in God Bless the Crown. I can't remember what the game is called.
Or you mean News Cram? Yeah, Tales of Iron.
Yeah, Tales of Iron. I brought that up. I added that to my Steam wishlist because it looks really fucking cool. Cannot stress it enough. If you like Mouse Guard or Redwall or just the idea of it, that game looks fucking cool. So check it out. But
slap it into the Indie Pod episodes. You know what we're talking about, streamlining it? Why don't we just add more shit? We'll just call it Wishlist Corner. And we'll talk about things we
could
wish
just
list.
make it 5 hours instead of being like, let's just trim it down a bit. We'll just go the exact opposite way.
That's what we got to do. The Indie Pod way. Content for days.
You could check out Josh on Twitter at @the_George90. You can check out his Twitch streams at twitch.tv/the_George. I guess my Twitch is twitch.tv/HiveLegion. I'll be back Twitch streaming at the end of this summer probably. But before we hop off, I got to go through our housekeeping one more time. Check out our developer interview with Tactics Studios Inc. or Incorporated, Incapacitated. I don't exactly know. That developer interview is going to be going live on July the 14th. They're talking about their game Clair de Lune or something else. I always say that in an exaggerated way just because why not make a joke about it, because I know I'm going to mispronounce it. It's my fault, not theirs. Like, I know I'm going to do it. So check out the developer interview. Check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring for stickers and t-shirts. Head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch these episodes. We got a whole playlist of IndiePod episodes, which are fun. Like I said, there's some visual gags in there and such, and you could chat with us down in the comments. As I said before, please leave us reviews on any sort of platform in which you can do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out a bunch, and if you write a review, we will make sure to read it on the show. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons. Just in general, you give us any amount of money, you're fantastic. If you even listen to us, you're fantastic. That's awesome. But we, of course, have to thank the $3 tiers and higher. So thank you so much to our new patron, Ethan, a gamer for fun. Then we got John. Just John. Sorry, dude. Just John. We'll see Mixamentosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the one minute of Australia, Chris Penwell, always drinking tea, Josh Nichols, aka Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much for being patrons. You're all amazing, and we will talk to you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.